The cost of production, of course, is very high. I can't stress that enough because of the current economy we have found ourselves. However, for example, I'm more of a cassava farmer, and one of the things we've noticed since the harvest is that a lot of the local farmers have planted a lot last year, so there's bountiful harvest of garri, which and they don't have the same cost of labor than the commercial farmers have, which means that there's a lot of cassava in the market and the price generally will fall because the supply outweighs the demand. Yes, but the same could also be said about rice. Since they opened the borders for the rice, generally the price of rice has dropped. That other farmers that I'm in touch with have also made serious losses because when you compare the availability of rice and the cost of labor, it's not in their best interest. They have all lost money and they are still losing money. So it's part of the reason the market has crashed. Many local farmers and even the commercial farmers has no way of storing. And because they cannot store, instead of it going to waste, they rather make a loss than throwing it away. Yes, there are ways one can store, but mainly, for example, I'm aware that we have silos all over Nigeria. There's one in Ebonyi, there's one at Abia, and I think there's one in Anambra, but they are not fully functioning, if they are functioning at all. And I know there was a time they privatized or part privatization with the government. I think that was the previous administration. But they will still require the effort and the finance and support from the federal government to get them active. If these silos were working, it's one of the best ways we can when we have bountiful harvest like this, store food for the dry season and when we have lack. But unfortunately, they are not working. Another way we can store is using storage cold rooms. But with the high price of electricity, and of course, you can't even, they are expensive to build and maintain. So even going to the banks, there's a lot of bottlenecks preventing commercial farmers from even developing such or building or venturing into such areas. These are some of the challenges. Not that there are no ways to store, there are plenty, there are ways and they are available. But access to funds and then support by the federal and even the state, including the local government, is non-existent, if I may use that word. Well, already, and I can speak mainly for the southeast where I farm, and it is a major problem. In the near future, we're going to have less and less farmers. Of course, it makes no sense, or as a commercial farmer, to continue farming when you're not getting a return on your investment. And the government is not making it easier. So, most likely in the future, of course, the number of farmers that are already reducing is going to further shrink further, which is a serious problem for the country as a whole, because any nation should be able to feed itself or herself. So that is a problem waiting to happen if not tackled. Well, everything boils down to the government policies. As much as farmers don't want to make a loss, it's also important that the citizens eat food and eat well. We need to meet at the middle ground. But one of the major crises we are having is the economy as a whole. On paper, they are telling us it's getting better. But every home in Nigeria knows that the naira is losing its value every day. When it comes to labor, labor is increasing almost on a daily basis. To get somebody, and again, let me also say this, if you are going towards mechanization, which looks promising, you also have your own challenges there. For example, the prices of fuel is not cheap. The price of diesel is not cheap. This is outside labor. And then if you are going into machineries, you also have to deal with power. These are costs that are very, very high. With that, it's difficult to find a middle ground and sell at a loss. As a businessman, as a farmer, keep in mind you're in this as well, outside to feed the nation, but also to have a bit of money. But a situation whereby the cost is high, it's difficult to keep running. However, like I said, it has to do with the government policies. They have to find a way to help farmers in order to reduce their costs. Yes, one of the ways they've done is not putting much taxes on agri produce with the FRS, which is fantastic. However, many of us can access funds. The cost or the requirement to get some of these loans is so difficult. The bottlenecks is beyond what an average person will go and pursue. So until government comes involved and then encourage, especially the young people as well, to show them farming is a lucrative business and something they should embark on. Without that, there will be no middle ground because the cost is generally high. Just like with every other thing, if I may ask.
Now, Nigeria's agricultural imports have been rising. Do you think that these imported food is competing unfairly with local produce? And what do you think can be done about that?
There is no way it can compete fairly with the local produce. Most of these countries that we are buying from, they have government assisted support or agencies or anyhow you want to look at it, government structures that goes for to enable the businessmen in this field and women, of course, to produce at a cheaper rate in order for them to make profit and then for that order for them to also export, because the more you export the better it is for your economy than the more you import. Now Nigeria has is almost slipping back to importing more of, which is a serious blow to us. And again, they've had years of experience and they are enjoying economic of scales, meaning that they can even produce cheaper, faster, and cleaner than we are, making it cheaper for us to buy from them than to actually produce ourselves, which is a no-win for the Nigerian economy and Nigerians at large. It's not fair. As much as I also we also understand the impact it will have on consumers. We must be truthful to ourselves. We can't want the very best and not pay a price for it. So the more they open the border, yes, it's cheaper, it's easier for people to access food for now, but tomorrow it's going to be impossible for Nigeria to feed herself.
Now, with all that you've said,